I started playing in my village with my friends. We'd have pachanguitas in the street using 2 sticks for goals. That sentence didn't come from a retired legend reminiscing about the 70s. It was spoken this week by a 16-year-old who just stepped onto Hansi Flick's training pitch. Ebrima Tunkara started with nothing in the village of Lamoi, Gambia. Now he is walking the same hallways as world champions. Most youngsters buckle under the pressure of being called the next someone. But Tunkara didn't just accept the comparison to Lamine Yamal. He went to the record books and deleted Yamal's name from them. The paradox of La Masia is simple. The more they call you a genius, the faster you fail. But here is the tension central of this story. What happens when the next legend arrives before the current one has even finished his first chapter? In a world still obsessed with Lamine Yamal, the boy who broke his records just arrived in the first team dressing room. By the end of this video, you will understand why the Barcelona board is more terrified of losing Ebrima Tunkara than they were of losing Neymar. I am going to show you the exact moment a scout almost destroyed his career, the secret record he took from Yamal that no one is talking about, and why his physical evolution is making Hansi Flick rethink the entire structure of the first team. Implicit promise. This is the story of how a boy who played barefoot arrived in Spain, and within 48 months, outpaced the statistical ghost of the greatest teenager in Barcelona's history. You have heard of La Masia projects before, but you have never seen one move this fast. If you think Yamal is the ceiling, you are about to see the sky. Who is Ebrima Tunkara? On paper, he is a 16-year-old left-footed attacking midfielder. In reality, he is a physical and technical anomaly that has scouts from the B-Soccer 2026 and Mundo Deportivo 2026, calling him the most irreplicable talent since 2014. What makes him special is his profile. Imagine the technical grace of a Barcelona 10 trapped inside a 1.78-meter frame that already looks like an elite athlete. Spanish football is currently dominated by Yamal. The system is built for him. So what happens to the kid who is technically his rival, physically his superior, and statistically ahead of him? In 2018, when Ebrima first walked into a trial at Barcelona, the scouts almost sent him home after 10 minutes. They thought he was lazy. They thought he was apathetic. One specific coach even wrote, "Lacks the intensity for the Blaugrana style" on his report. We will close that loop in Beat 7 to show you why that laziness was actually his greatest weapon. The stakes aren't just about football, they are about a family legacy that spans 2 continents. In January 2026, Barcelona didn't just renew his contract, they accelerated it. Because Fabrizio Romano confirmed that Europe's sharks were already circling. The paradox is that while the world looks for flaws, Ebrima found a way to bridge the gap between street survival and tactical perfection. But here is the detail that keeps scouts awake at night. He is at the exact same club where Lamine began, in the exact same neighborhood. This is not a coincidence, it is a glitch in the simulation. To understand why Tunkara matters, you have to look at the 2024 to 2026 season cycle. Barcelona entered a post-Xavi era under Hansi Flick, where physical intensity became the new currency. In the 2025-26 season, the club became obsessed with finding verticality. The era of small, purely aesthetic midfielders was pivoting toward total players. In October 2025, Tunkara was dominating the U17 level. While Yamal was winning the Ballon d'Or and the World Cup, Tunkara was in the youth ranks, specifically the Juvenile A side, playing as a 15-year-old against 19-year-olds. According to Nagamania, Tunkara has a profile unlike anything else at Barca. The environment was brutal. Barcelona was no longer just promoting kids for marketing, they were promoting them for survival. By the time July 2026 arrived, the pico de especificidad was clear. Ebrima had already logged 1,240 minutes of high-level youth football in a single calendar year. He was being prepared for a jump that usually takes 3 years. Ebrima is special, but we must not forget how young he is, warned Juliano Belletti in March 2026 via Nagamania. But Belletti was wrong. Tunkara wasn't looking for a future, he was already living in it. The journey started in the Central River Division of the Gambia. Lamoi is a place where football is a luxury of effort. Tunkara's father, Abdul, moved to Mataró, Spain, in 2007 to build a foundation. He worked silent, back-breaking jobs to ensure his son could one day join him. For 10 years, Ebrima played in the dust, using 2 sticks for goals. When he finally arrived in Catalonia in 2017, he was 7 years old and spoke no Spanish. He was enrolled at Cerdanyola, the same modest neighborhood club where Lamine Yamal took his first steps. This is the detail that leaves people stunned. It wasn't a different city or a different scout. It was the exact same pitch. In 2018, everything changed. Albert Puig, then a scout for Barcelona, went to see a different player but left obsessed with Ebrima. Mundo Deportivo reports that Puig called his coordinator after only 10 minutes of watching Tunkara. The first sign of trouble. His first trial was a disaster. He was freezing. He had never felt the cold of a Spanish winter. He looked apathetic. But Puig fought for him because his street-forged bravery was too obvious to ignore. The specific data point here is crucial. Ebrima was officially integrated into Benjamin A in September 2018. Over the next 4 years, his teams recorded a win rate of 94.2%. He wasn't just a passenger, he was the engine. He moved from 7 A-side to 11 A-side with a silent efficiency that worried the coaches. Usually, kids from the street struggle with tactical discipline. Ebrima embraced it like it was a survival manual. But here is what nobody is telling you. The next Yamal label is a poison. Being compared to a living legend who is only 2 years older than you creates a psychological pressure that is devastating. As Tunkara's numbers rose, the scrutiny from the fans at the Estadio Johan Cruyff became brutal. In late 2025, while Tunkara was tearing up the youth leagues, there were whispers that he was too individualistic. The complication is deeper than just football. Tunkara is represented by Pini Zahavi, the super agent who handles Neymar and Hansi Flick himself. This creates a complex narrative. Is he getting these opportunities because of his agent's influence, or is he truly that good? The deterioration wasn't in his play, but in the patience of the public. People wanted him to be Yamal instantly. They didn't understand that Tunkara isn't a winger, he is a number 10. He wants to control the game, not just the sideline. This tactical shift is what most creators miss. The difficulty of being a midfield general at 16 is much higher than being a speed merchant on the wing. The ascension was unlikely and devastating. By early 2025, Tunkara was no longer just a prospect, he was a weapon. Statistically, his best period began in late 2025. In October 2025, Spain U17 played Andorra. Tunkara didn't just win the game, he destroyed a myth. He became the youngest player to score a hat-trick double, 2 goals and 1 assist, in a single match for the national team, breaking a record previously held by Lamine Yamal. If you think a hat-trick in U17 is easy, remember that Yamal did it with a team built entirely around his dribble. Tunkara did it while playing as a defensive interior. During the UEFA U17 European Championship in June 2026, Tunkara was named the player of the tournament. He scored 1 goal and provided 4 assists, leading Spain to the semi-finals. He was making adults in the youth systems look like amateurs. Then came the debut for Barça Atlétic in March 2026. At just 15 years and 11 months, he became the 3rd youngest player in the history of the club to debut for the reserve team. He only trails Lionel Messi and Gil Fernandez. He is literally ahead of Yamal in the hierarchy of debut ages for the second team. On July 15, 2026, he had his first training session with Hansi Flick. Reports from described Flick as stunned by Tunkara's physical torso. At 1.78 meters, he has the musculature of an 18-year-old. He makes the transition from youth to senior football look unlikely and easy. Remember the scout who almost sent him home for being apathetic? In the first preseason match of 2026, Flick saw that same apathy. But Flick, a veteran of German efficiency, realized it wasn't laziness. It was composure. Ebrima wasn't running because he didn't need to. He was already where the ball was going to be. The payoff happened this week. Hansi Flick ignored the noise and called him for the pre-season stage in England. The decisive moment was the first internal friendly against Europa. Tunkara didn't just participate, he scored the 3rd goal in a 4-1 victory. He proved that his background wasn't a disadvantage, it was his armor. The result of the story? The boy from the sticks is now officially in the senior rotation. He didn't just meet the high expectations, he broke the very records those expectations were built on. Why does Ebrima Tunkara matter? Beyond the 2026 stats and the Zahavi contracts, this is a lesson in statistical disruption. Football history usually moves in waves. One star fades, another rises. But Tunkara has forced the next Yamal narrative to happen, while the original Yamal is still at his peak. It is a glitch in the system. His legacy won't be that he replaced Lamine, but that he redefined what a 16-year-old is capable of in physical modern league. He is the first player from Gambia to ever knock on the door of the first team at Barcelona. What happens when the next starts to overtake the current inside the same locker room? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Is the Tunkara versus Yamal comparison helping or hurting him? Tell me in the comments what you think. Is it too soon, or is he actually the one we should be watching?